December 2nd, 2024 Crest Hill City Council meeting. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all of America.
Roll call, please, Chris.
Ray Solomon.
Here.
Glenn Conklin.
Present.
Scott Dyke.
Here.
Jennifer Methvin.
Here.
Darrell Jefferson.
Here.
Claudia Gazal.
Here.
Tina Oberlin.
Present.
Mark Sepiti.
Here.
Nate Albert.
Here.
And Joe Kubal.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, you have before you the approval of the minutes from the work session held on November 12th, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the minutes of the work session held on November 12th, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call, please, Chris.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
And Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
You also have before you a request for the approval of the minutes of the city council meeting held on November 18th, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of the minutes of the city council meeting held on November 18, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
And Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our city attorney, Mike Stiff. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have several agenda items tonight. The first is a resolution, even though the agenda says motion, it's a resolution, or actually not a resolution, it's an ordinance approving amendments to the Plan Commission ordinance. I have on the dais at each of your spots a slightly modified one from the one that was discussed at the last work session. This has been discussed several times, and you passed an amendment several months ago. The discussion last week centered around making the Plan Commission compensation consistent with the changes that are about to be made with respect to item number 4 with respect to civil service. So the ones that are loose on your spots on the dais, it's the ordinance amending section 2.80.040 has a slight amendment. What's different from the prior one is that this has now been amended to make it a per regular meeting attended, as discussed last week. So the compensation is no longer monthly, it's per meeting attended. And then I changed the number of absences after which a member can be considered for removal to say 5 or more, rather than it said more than 5. So that was pointed out by Alderman Sepiti with respect to the civil service ordinance that you're going to look at next. So I made a consistent change with this. So what you have before you is the now current ordinance amending 2.8.04040 compensation of Chapter 2.8 changes that I've outlined and that were discussed last week at the work session. There has been one other suggestion that came to me, I think yesterday or maybe over the weekend, from the chair of the Plan Commission, Bill Thomas, who is in attendance here. He suggested that rather than this becoming effective immediately, that it should become effective January 1, because I don't know when the treasurer's office is going to pay that monthly, because it's right now monthly. So I think maybe make it the cleanest, rather than making it effective tonight, you make it effective January 1. That way you start the new year with both your Plan Commission and Civil Service Commission on a per meeting basis. But I'll defer to either Glenn or Glenn on whether that makes, it's the council's choice, obviously. I've drafted this to make it effective immediately, which is what most of our resolutions are, but I can make that one easy change if it's the council's pleasure. But I'll let either Glenn or Glenn chime in if they think that it makes a difference.
Makes sense if it's all right.
I agree. Is it difficult to do upon passing?
It's a change,
Sure.
and I don't know when they're dispersed. It's not one of our largest bills, obviously, so.
Yeah. Is there a plan commission meeting to be held in December?
No.
It was already canceled. So you want it to stay the same through December, which means get paid for a meeting that didn't take place.
What they're paid currently by ordinance is a salary. So they're being paid their salary when they didn't have a meeting.
It's outlined in a monthly basis, though.
It's a monthly salary, Mark.
Well, I think that's up to interpretation, but.
It's not up for interpretation. You're changing it to a per meeting from a salary.
Okay, I'm not sure how it reads in the bylaws, but.
Well, the ordinance but before you changed it last, it read monthly. It doesn't say salary, it doesn't use the word salary, but I think Glenn's
Monthly
suggestion
regardless of
is that when
attendance.
it's monthly based on a 12 month per year, or a 12 meeting per year, once a month meeting, it comes out to, basically, you get paid monthly. It's like a salary, but again, the word salary does not appear in the prior ordinance or in the current ordinance, because the current ordinance has now been changed to make it per meeting. But the question is, this ordinance makes it effective per meeting.
Well, since they're allowed 2 paid leaves meetings per year, and to make everything as simple and clean and amiable as possible, I'll make a motion to approve it with the change to January 1st, 2025 as the start date.
Second is offered.
All right, a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin, for an ordinance amending section 2.80.040, compensation of chapter 2.80, Plan Commission of Title II, Administration and Personnel of the City of Crest Hill Code of Ordinances, effective January 1st, 2025. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes,
Mark Sepiti,
Yes, and I want to thank Mike for clarifying that it was not worded as being a salary anywhere. But I'm a yes.
Nate Albert,
No.
Joe Kubal,
No.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Motion carries ordinance 2005.
Okay, the next item, as alluded to in my previous comments, is an ordinance that approves a similar amendment to the Civil Service chapter and section of the Crest Hill Code. You should have in front of you a revised ordinance that is a little bit different than the one that is in the packet. This now in section 2.72.040 changes it from more than 3 absences that can result in potential removal. It says now 3 or more rather than more than 3. So that is with respect to both the chairperson and the regular members. Other than that, all of the other changes are as previously discussed in the work session. I think that, again, for being the cleanest method of doing that, you could make this effective January 1 as well, although I believe that the civil service meeting this month has already taken place, correct? Oh, that was last month. Okay. Is there a special meeting set in November or in December?
Chief. I'm sorry.
Is there a civil service meeting scheduled in December, a special meeting?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I can look on the website. Sorry.
So this could be the council's pleasure, again, if the
I'll make a
motion.
motion to accept it with the January 1st, 2025 date as the previous one was, and keep everything on the same wavelength.
Second.
All right, motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin, for an ordinance amending section 2.72.040, membership compensation of chapter 2.72, Civil Service Commission of Title II, Administration and Personnel of the City of Crest Hill Code of Ordinances, effective January 1st, 2025. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
No.
Joe Kubal,
No.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries, ordinance 2006.
The next item is a motion to approve a settlement agreement with Kim Linden. This was discussed, I believe, in executive session. The document has been approved by the labor attorney, John Kelly, so a motion would be in order to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderman Jefferson for the approval of a local 150 settlement agreement for Kim Linden. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Tina Oberlin,
Did you say me?
yes.
Oh, yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
And last but not least, my final item is a resolution adopting a revised policy for remote attendance at public meetings. Earlier this year, you passed the initial public remote attendance policy. The legislature since then has changed the Open Meetings Act to incorporate one other additional basis on which a remote attendance policy can be allowed. Again, you don't have to have a policy, but you decided to have such a policy. So the written policy now has added to it an unexpected child care obligation in addition to the other three bases for remote attendance. This is now consistent with the Open Meetings Act as recently amended. So a motion to approve this resolution and new policy would be in order.
So move as presented.
Second?
We have a motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin, for a resolution adopting a revised policy for remote attendance at public meetings. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
and Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution 1271.
Those are all my agenda items, but I would be happy to attempt to field any questions that you might have.
Any questions of our city attorney? All right, thanks, Mike. Moving on to our city administrator, Tony Graff. Good evening, Tony.
Yeah, yes, I emailed out the memo before the holidays, and there wasn't too many updates due to the fact it was a short period. In the city center facility, we're still working on getting plumbing quotes. The main thing, when we got the last quotes, which was about a couple months ago, city council requested, when we went back to the notes, that they wanted the repair notes to the damage that'll be done to the building, which is basically the drywall, for them to get in there and replace the piping, so that the sanitary sewers will flush more easily and more efficient. The bulletproof windows, we have no bids. I know Don's been busy as the only inspector, working. He's gonna make some more phone calls this week after the holiday to see if we can get some updated bid proposals. The stormwater drainage pipes, I requested Mike Ulitz for a meeting, because he's the one that was coordinating the televising of our drainage pipes out here. And I wanted to get the update from him, so hopefully I'll have a meeting this week with him and get his recommendation in regards to the damage and repairs that we have to do. So we can go out for quotes, or see if our public works crew can do the work or not. The mortar, because of the temperature and everything else, getting the masonry out here at this point seems to be a little bit of a challenge to get us some quotes. We only have a couple of cracks that are starting to happen, so it isn't a major emergency. We just want to try to get them filled before we have a freeze and thaw happening. And HVAC, the maintenance company is putting together a maintenance schedule for us, per the agreement, when they're gonna come in. They have been in the building a couple of times doing some minor maintenance work. We asked them to finish up the pipes for the insulation around them, so the dripping has stopped, but we need to get the insulation around the exhaust pipes over by the bathrooms, so then we can replace the tiles, not to worry about them dripping anymore. And the parking lot security gate access, coordinating that with the police department. They have a company come out and do the maintenance work, because the gate is sort of sticking, and I think it really just needs a little bit of maintenance every 3 or 4 months for the gates to work properly. The Grand Prairie Water Project, with the meeting this Thursday, they do have a public hearing for their budget. I just got the budget, the final draft today. I'll review it tomorrow with staff, and I'll give copies out to all the council members in regards to the proposed budget they're gonna vote on this week. Stateville, there was a bid date for demolition. There's some accessory buildings that they're gonna start getting bids on to tear down. And I think the bid date, if I remember right, December 10th is when the bids are due. I should get a report from the Capital Development Board once those bids are in, and we can find out what buildings they're gonna demolish, hopefully this spring or sooner. The fire district training, the proposed project, IDOT finally did get their submitted traffic study, and we're waiting for IDOT's review, and then we'll have our review done too. We are targeting in January for them to have their application in, and for Planning Commission to review it. We did have our critical incident debriefing with the township. A couple of highlights that happened that we're putting into effect immediately is training in regards to those hydrants to provide for the fire district and also to other districts in the area, especially on our east side. Those hydrants have to be opened very slowly. If they get opened quickly, that's what causes the pressure. And at this point, we're thinking that's one of the factors that causes some of the water main leaks. The other thing we did find out is communication. A lot of the communication we needed to update. So we're getting quotes and some radios for the Public Works Department, because it would have been a key factor for our water department to be communicating directly to the fire department instead of going through the police department and through phones and everything. I think that would have definitely would have been an improvement communication as our wells and our pumps started basically being overburdened. We could have done a shutdown, even if it was just for 20 minutes, and maybe used Joliet's system. So we're ordering up some radios so that we'll have that communication. But the one thing we did find out is they used about 200,000 gallons of water in that system. So we're going to be working with putting invoice and bill together to BL Duke scrap metals, since they're not in our city. So they're getting water from us basically at no charge. You know, not that we would ever turn it off because of a fire, because the fire department was demanding it. But we're going to put an invoice together and work with the city attorney to invoice them for the water and some of the and damages that, you know, happened to our system too. We're putting that report together. So as soon as I have a complete report, you'll get a copy of the draft that'll get reviewed by staff, and then we can talk further at a work session in regards to it. Job announcements tonight, we do have the interim candidate here, Julius Hanson's here. It's on the agenda for consideration for a vote for the interim position, and he can start on Wednesday. Community Development Director, I've been in contact with Patrick out there, and he's told me that his relocation is going quicker. He's going to probably be in the state of Illinois before Christmas and be totally relocated before the January 6th date. So he's asked if he could come by and get his look at an office and talk to staff. And I told him, you want to come by, we'll buy you lunch, and have him come around and look at his office. Water meter replacement, we're still working on the non-compliance. We are getting, you know, on weekends, we are getting into homes, but that's very, very slow process by doing only 1 or 2 on the weekends. Places for eating tax, we got one that's in compliance that we wrote the citations to. We got 4 others that did not get in compliance at this point, so additional citations and additional fines have been placed on those 4. We do have a 5th retail place that is not paying, so we're up to about 4 late pays there, so we'll be issuing a citation for them too. So we'll be monitoring and continuing to monitor places for eating tax. The sewer plant, we have a scheduled meeting next week with the project coordinator for that's building them, to get an update. So a couple of weeks, I should be able to give you more of an update if we're staying on schedule. The crime lab, we all saw the project here. When we find out when they're planning on breaking ground, or at least start doing some work, we'll give you an update when Ron Metzger receives that. The old City Hall, at this point in time, the PUD development plan application is being put together. They said they should have an application in January or February to go in front of the Planning Commission for their zoning. That's one of the last part of the contract. Once they get their entitlement and zoning, and then they have, I think it's 30 days, 45 days to where they close on the property, and the property will be theirs. But the entitlement has to happen before we can do the closing on the real estate contract. Any other questions? I'll be glad to talk to.
Any questions of City Administrator?
No, just what we spoke about today on the phone about sickage.
Yeah, I did get further contact with Mary O'Connor from Skiddich, and she was expecting some clarity too. That number 1 module is what everybody was looking for to move forward on. But the scope of service for the investigation was the unclear part. I told her that I think a scope of service would be a good start, so there's more clarity there on what it entails to do that internal investigation that you requested. So we'll put that on the next agenda. Nothing changed. The first proposal, the first module is $15,000. So we'll put that on the 16th agenda for her to be able to start work on that. And hopefully by the next work session, I'll have a scope of work for the internal investigation too.
Yeah, that was my recommendation, is that they do a second proposal, so we know what we're getting and what they're doing, so we have a not-to-exceed amount, unless they're just gonna do it on an hourly basis, but I don't think that we should leave it open-ended. I think we should have at least a cap on it, so hopefully she can get both of those, or not both of those, she can get the new scope to us, and we can approve both of them at the next meeting, but I'll follow up with her and tell her that we'd like to have that sooner as opposed to later. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Moving on to our Public Works Department, you have a request from our previous Public Works Director, Mike Ulitz, and this was discussed at the work session last Monday night for the purchase of a Ford F-350 pickup truck for the Street Division and the Department of Public Works for the total amount of $50,091. Just a little summary that Mike had put together. There were 2 additional hirings in the 2024 and 2025 Crest Hill budget. The Street Division of the Department of Public Works has supplied pickup trucks to 2 new appointments in the Water Division and the Building and Grounds Division respectively. So this left the Street Division down 2 pickup trucks. So this would be through Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, and it would be the purchase, looking for the approval of the purchase of a Ford 350 pickup truck would have the ability to have a snowplow conversion to be used in the cul-de-sacs during snowstorms. For the Street Division and the Department of Public Works for the total amount of $50,091. Motion would be in order.
I have a couple of questions first before we go on. I thought years ago we had a truck similar that we were using for, like the parking lot at the old city hall and stuff like that. And do we still have that truck? Is it still in service? Are we getting rid of that truck? Is the plow off of that going on this one? I just, have some question as to, what all. We're getting an F-350 when we're getting rid of 2 F-150s. And now we're getting this F-350.
In the email that was sent, we were just used that. The 2 F-150s went to the 2
Right, I understand that.
street employers. So the F-350 is their next one that they want because they can plow to. The F-150 really are not efficient plowers.
But like I said, what happened to the other truck we had before that was doing that?
Well, that I didn't ask.
I'd like to, have these answers before we just go ahead and purchase another vehicle, because if we still have it here and it's still being used, do we need a second one? All these questions I have, I'd like to have some clarity on as to, because I know years ago we had gotten a truck to help with plowing at the old city hall because it was smaller and the driveway there, and they need to use the big truck, so it could be out on the street. So I just want to know what happened with that vehicle. Is it still here? Are we going to be getting rid of it? Are we using the plow off of it? What are we doing? So,
I know there's no request for surplus vehicles right now. We can find out for you.
all right, I'd like to see these questions answered before we go purchasing another vehicle. I don't know how the rest of council feels, but
Maybe we should have a list of everything that we have, like how many have 150s, how many 350s?
Can we table this till the information is gotten? We're not gonna have it tonight. We
Yeah, I'd
just
like to
table
see
it
it
to the next
tabled.
meeting? Next work session?
yeah, could we have the next work session and
But
get
if
some of
it's
these questions
needed, that's
answered?
the only other thing, if it's really needed, and snow is coming, do we have plows? The question is, do we have trucks that can plow? Correct?
Well, I'm going, yeah, and I'm going on the recommendation from the interim that pretty well knows the operation before he left, so these are questions I'd have to get more answers for. If he wanted to wait, I don't know how it's gonna impact, because they're probably not, by the time they even get this vehicle in, it's probably gonna be, 4 to 6 weeks, so I don't think it's a necessary need.
But see, he asked for those questions, he asked for those specific questions last work session to be ready for tonight, so we don't
And I
have.
thought it was in regards to the two vehicles.
Oh,
And I went to Brian and asked him that. He said the 2 vehicles did go to the utility department because of the new hires they had there too. They needed vehicles. They need vehicles basically to go out and do inspections and going from the well houses to the receiving stations. They don't need a working vehicle to do the plowing and everything. So didn't know about a third vehicle that was out there that might be in storage or in surplus.
I know
It
we
used to
had
do the
before.
cul-de-sacs, it was a little pickup, it used to do the cul-de-sacs.
But we had a
Cause
truck.
I would see it doing Waterford all the time.
And that's why Brian was recommending the 350 on this one. So it works more efficiently for the cul-de-sacs and for the, there are a few narrow streets that they have to use the smaller trucks on. So
Okay, you have a recommendation, but
So move as presented.
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
No, there isn't.
it was not a motion.
Motion to table?
There was a
I'd
motion to
like to see
table.
it tabled.
It wasn't a motion.
Did you make a motion?
I just said I would like to see it tabled.
So you're making a motion, I'll second.
I'll make it a motion.
We
to
have a
table.
Motion on the
Right.
floor.
We have a
We already have
motion.
one. We have to vote on that one first.
Starting to say that we have a recommendation from Public Works for the purchase of the Ford F-350, and Alderman Albert made the motion. I was going to say, or you could table it, but the motion was made and seconded.
Well, Mark Sepiti stated, I just want to make sure we're not going to do anything illegal here. Before he made, when he said we should table this, and he said, I would like that. So I don't know if that was a motion or that was just a comment.
I don't think it was a motion. I think it was a comment, but I'll defer to our city attorney.
Well, I don't think there was a motion.
I just mentioned that I'd like to see it tabled.
And after that, there was a motion to approve.
All right, I'll rescind my motion to approve. Okay?
Joe, you rescind?
Aren't Robert's rules that you, it's the issue, motion, second, discussion, not recommendation, discussion?
True.
At some point, you can call order when
I
you
understand that there is a discussion on the floor still, so you don't make a motion when people still talking about it. I understand
You
you're
don't
going by
talk about it
Robert rules,
prior-
but they were still talking here.
The discussion comes
You don't
after the
talk about
motion.
it before the motion. That's the deal.
We've got the motion
Recommendation.
rescinded at this point. Motion to approve.
That was rescinded. Is there a motion to table?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Dyke, seconded by Alderman Sapiti to table the request of Public Works for the purchase of the Ford F-350. Questions or comments?
Yes. Can we make sure that we have all the answers to this question? So any questions that we have for Tony or Public Works, we can get it to them so we can have the information in front of us before we vote. This is 2 weeks in a row where we've talked about this, and here we are pushing it off again. That's my comments for the record.
Well, it sounds like you provided Alderman Dyke with information?
Just about the two trucks.
Well,
and
right,
everything.
that's fine.
But there's nothing as far as,
That's fine. But
that
that's
question just came up
information that
tonight,
should have went
right?
to all of
Correct.
us.
You just
If
brought
one-
that question up today about the old one.
right, exactly
Okay.
what's going on, you know, where are we at with it? Do we still have it? Is it serviceable? Were we using it last year? You know, that type of thing.
All right, we have a motion to table in a second. Can we get a vote?
Roll call, Chris.
Joe Kubal,
Abstain.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
No.
Motion carries, thank you.
And can we at least, I think it's a good point, what is it that is being requested? I mean, you know what you know what you're
I
getting.
believe people wanna know how many vehicles that are involved in the fleet, how many can plow, what's the status of the previous pickup truck that was doing cul-de-sacs before, that Scott inquired about, any any and all information, because it's best for us to have this before we make votes. I've stressed this on multiple occasions in this chamber, that provide us with all the information before you ask us to make a vote, so that we can make an informed vote. So, once again, anything relating to the vehicle fleet that would enhance our knowledge on this topic to make an educated vote.
Bless you.
I mean, it sure would always be nice to have more vehicles, but sometimes you don't, you know, is this something more of a want or a need? That's kind of like information I would like to be able to make that determination instead of taking one person's recommendation on it. Because last I know, you know, we planted a lot of trees around the city center, but I don't think we planted any money trees. At least I don't see any money growing out there, so I would appreciate more detail as well.
Okay, moving on to our city engineer. He is excused for this evening. He was under the weather today, so I'm going to handle his two agenda items. The first one is the bids were advertised and solicited for qualified contractors to provide unit price costs for the 2024 sanitary cleaning and televising contract. There were 6 bids that were opened up on Thursday, November 14th, and the low bidder was Horror Construction Incorporated for $89,760. That is the recommendation of our city engineer, Ron Wiedemann, to award the contract to Horror Construction Incorporated amount of $89,760 for the 2024 sanitary cleaning and televising contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin, for the award the contract to Horror Construction Incorporated in the amount of $89,760 for the 2024 sanitary cleaning and televising contract. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Scott Dyke?
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin?
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson?
Yes.
Claudia Gazal?
Yes.
Tina Oberlin?
Yes.
Mark Sepiti?
Yes.
Nate Albert?
Yes.
Joe Kubal?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item for the city engineer is the approval of a resolution approving a professional service agreement for the 2022-2024 water audits and water system improvement plan by and between the city of Crest Hill and Will County and the Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for amount not to exceed $45,000. This is a follow-up that was discussed last Monday night also at the work session. This is the next step in receiving the Lake Michigan water to complete the water audit for the years 2022 to 2024 and submit it to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. And this work must be completed and submitted to the Department of Natural Resources by January 1st, 2025 to keep the city of Crest Hill on track for the Lake Michigan water project. So I'm looking for
So
a
moved.
recommendation for
Second.
approval of the service agreement. We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman
It may have
Methvin.
been someone else before me.
Nate?
No, I think he beat me to the punch there.
Okay.
For the approval of the resolution and the professional service agreement for 2022-2024 water audits and water system improvement plan between the city of Crest Hill and Engineering Enterprises for an amount not to exceed $45,000. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Nate Albert?
Yes.
Joe Kubal?
Yes.
Scott Dyke?
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin?
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson?
Yes.
Claudia Gazal?
Yes.
Tina Oberlin?
Yes.
And Mark Sepiti?
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution 1272.
Okay, thank you. That is all the agenda items under the city engineer. Community development, Ron Metzner is also absent for this evening, so we'll move on to our police department, our police chief, Ed Clark. Good evening, Ed.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have any agenda items this evening. The issue, or the item we talked about at the last work session, I will have at the December, thank you, keep it moving, I'll leave it on. December 16th meeting for your approval. We're going over a service agreement with them, and I'm going with Attorney Mike Stipp. So once that's prepared, we'll bring that before you for vote. Other than that, I don't, I'll entertain any questions.
Well, I just want to thank you once again for your savior of Rudolph Van Gogh's other antler off of Weber Road.
We tried. We sure tried. You're very
Chief,
welcome.
did you receive that picture that I sent you over the weekend about that one car that fell in the creek at Willow Falls?
Yes.
I just want that for the record, that we'll incorporate that into our next work session for that stop sign.
Certainly.
The resident didn't want me to say that
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, absolutely we can.
That
Sure.
was very dangerous.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Moving on to the mayor's report. The first order of business is the appointment of interim Public Works Director Julius Hansen. Julius is here this evening. There was on November 26th, our HR Director Dave Strahl, Councilperson Tina Oberlin, and our City Administrator Tony Graff interviewed Julius, and they were impressed with his 20-plus years of experience in public works and his 20 years as the Director of Public Works. And he has the necessary skill sets to be very helpful to assist our city until a permanent director could be found. And he would be an employee under the contract of GovHR and be able to work up to 40 hours per week. I had the ability to meet Julius later that afternoon, and he impressed me a lot. He is a veteran. I thank you for your service. I seen you saluting the flag during the national anthem. I thank you for that also. And I think that he would be a tremendous asset to the city of Crest Hill with the experience that he has from his past employments. He would be a good fit for our city. He was introduced to many of the public works individuals last week when he visited here on the day of his interview. So, without any more further ado, I would ask for approval to appoint Julius Hansen as our interim Public Works Director for the city of Crest Hill.
So moved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, for the approval of the appointment of Julius Hansen as interim Public Works Director for the city of Crest Hill. Questions or comments? Roll call. The next one's going to be for the resolution. This is just for the appointment.
All right. The resolution includes the approval of the appointment.
Okay.
So this agenda item should just be, I appoint Julius Hansen, period. You don't need a vote. You've made the appointment. You
Okay.
can introduce him, and then we can move on to the resolution. The resolution includes the approval and then the approval of the contract. It's built in
Okay.
the thing, or it's built in the same document.
Would you like to come to the podium, Julius, and make any comments?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. My name is Julius Hansen. I'm excited to be the interim Director of Public Works. I know yesterday was the first day of winter, according to some, and it's going to be with us for 3 months until March 1st. And it's one of the most challenging seasons for any public works department in the Northern Hemisphere. I mean, even here this evening, you're talking about plow trucks. The equipment, the strategy, everything is very difficult and challenging. The good news is I've heard a lot of good things about the public works employees at Public Works, and a lot of good things about the city of Crest Hill. So I'm here to help in any capacity I can. You know, I think working with the Public Works employees, myself, we can provide the best service possible for the citizens of the city of Crest Hill for these challenging next 3 months. And obviously, the temperature outside is starting pretty wicked right off the bat, so could be a really big challenge. And then you have all the other possible emergencies that could happen during the winter, and sometimes simultaneously. So my goal is to exceed expectations of the citizens, employees, and the mayor, village manager, and elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. Okay, with that being said, I would ask for approval of a resolution approving the appointment of Julius Hansen as interim Director of Public Works and approving an employee leasing agreement by and between the City of Crest Hill and MGT Impact Solutions LLC for Julius Hansen service as interim Director of Public Works.
So moved as presented.
Wait, hold on, we already have motions on the floor.
So whoever made the motion to approve during the
Same-
last item,
same
please
people.
withdraw it.
Withdrawn, sir.
Withdraw.
Thank you.
So, before the vote, there should be on the dais in each of your spots, a revised resolution. The one that was in the packet was prepared by Tony using a model from, I think, Eric and Wagner's. There were a couple of discrepancies because MGT has now, or GovHR/GovTemps has now officially moved away from the GovTemps and GovHR name. The contract that is before you is with MGT Impact Services LLC. So,
Impact Solutions.
Solutions. So I have revised it to make it consistent. I've looked at the agreement. So the one that I'm asking you to vote on is the one that is loose on the dais and not the one that is in the packet.
So moved as presented.
There's one other caveat.
Okay.
I looked at the memo.
Second again.
And Tina, you were at the meeting. My understanding was that Julius had requested the use of a vehicle. I did not see that in the memo or in the agreement, so I want to make sure that that gets addressed at some point before you approve it, and then we're back here trying to make amendments or something, so.
Okay, so this was just sitting here tonight, so I didn't realize that was not in there, but when we talked, that was discussed. And I believe when other council people were spoken to, that was also, so it will include the use of one of our vehicles for him to take home and come back and drive around the city in the time he's here.
If the council is okay with that, then you can approve it subject to attorney approval of the agreement, and we can make some sort of an addendum that makes MGT happy and Julius happy.
Okay, so moved as presented with that addendum.
Gotcha.
And I second it with that amendment. And we all previous public work directors, they did have a car, so we're not doing anything different or new.
Yes, I
Just
just
for the
want to make,
record.
I just want to make sure it's
Yes.
in writing for somebody so everybody knows, so.
Would you like me to read this again?
I would.
All right.
I think maybe we
Motion
can
by
actually get through
Alderperson
it.
Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, for a resolution approving the appointment of Julius Hansen as interim director of public works and approving an employee leasing agreement by and between the city of Crest Hill and MGT Impact Solutions LLC for Julius Hansen services as interim director of public works, and to include an addendum of a city vehicle to and from for Julius Hansen. Questions or comments? Roll call.
When you say to and from, what does that mean?
To and from work
Okay.
and during work.
So not personal use?
Well, that will be worked out between attorney and MGT and Mr. Hanson.
I'm pretty sure we have a policy on the personal
Yeah, it's
use of
just for
take-home
It's
to
vehicles.
and
not-
from work and at work.
So it would be subject to
That's what we
the
talked about, correct,
handbook.
Julius?
Roll call, Chris?
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Abstain.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution 1273.
Okay, Julius, it took a little bit to get there, but we got there. So welcome to the city of Crest Hill, and I should add that your first day of employment here will be Wednesday, December 4th, correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay. Very good.
Congratulations, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, that takes care of the agenda items. Just a couple comments. We had a very successful Santa Holiday Parade and Winterfest 2024 last Saturday, November 30th. I believe that the young children that were here, well, I should say this, the big challenge that we had was the weather. It was very cold that night, but it is Chicago, and the temperatures, we don't know what's going to happen from day to day. But it was a challenge for us all, but I think at the end of the day, there was a lot of young children in this room that had the opportunity to meet Santa and the elves. There was a lot of opportunities for those children to do arts and crafts. There was plenty of opportunities to play some of the games that we had for them, and they get their faces painted and to have the balloons made for them. There was hot chocolate and there was hot coffee in the building for everyone. There was cookies in the building for everyone to have some, and we even offered them some free hot dogs and pulled pork sandwiches from the food trucks that we had here. So I think with all the challenges that we had with the cold temperatures, it was a successful event. I certainly want to extend my deepest gratitude to every person in this room and outside of this room that volunteered their time and talents to do many of the jobs that were needed to be done during that day. Again, my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you, anyone that had anything to do before the event, during the event, after the event. So hats off to everybody. I think that maybe next year, one of my recommendations would be that maybe we need to take a look at readjusting some of the times. I think it would be more beneficial if the holiday parade went off at noon and be back here between 1 and 1:30, and then we have Winterfest here at City Hall from 1 to 4, 1 to 5. I think that would be more advantageous for everybody, with hopes of, if it is a cold day, there would be some sun that would maybe heat things up for everybody, and it may be a little bit more better for everybody. But that could be discussed next year also. I know that several of the other communities around us, Joliet had theirs on Friday night, the parade downtown. I know that New Lenox, Lockport, Plainfield, and us all had them on Saturday evening. So again, I think it was a success. The main thing was that all the kids, you seen smiles on their faces, and they had a good time here. So that's what it was all about. So I think just for that mere fact alone, it was successful. So with that being said, any questions you have of me, I'll try to answer them in regards to the mayor's report.
No, and Santa was very happy.
Pardon me?
Santa was very happy. He loves every minute of it. You can see on his face the whole time. If it's cold, warm, he doesn't care. He was so happy. And I also want to thank some of the Chris, Linda, and Tina for providing the candy for us as well, that we threw out the windows.
Still
So
picking it out of my car.
Okay, moving on to our city
Mayor,
clerk.
Mayor, can I just make one
Yeah.
comment, just to piggyback off of Claudia, just agree with her assessment of Santa Claus. He's truly, truly an asset to have him be a part of this and be a part of our community. Like she said, he does not turn anything down, and certainly appreciate him and his friendship and his loyalty to the kids. So, thanks, Santa.
You just don't want to get cold again this year.
Okay, moving on to our city clerk's report, Christine Verche Hall. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening. The only thing I have, I just want to thank Linda Dyke for the candy that's all over my car. And it was a great time. We had fun. We had fun watching the car behind us whipping candy too. It was a good time. And I think everybody, all the kids were,
are you talking about me? I'm just kidding.
I'm not mentioning, but the kids were enjoying the candy and yelling Santa, all that stuff. So it was great, even though we had some cold weather. And that's all I have to report.
Any questions of the clerk? All right, thanks, Chris. Moving on to our city treasurer's report, our treasurer, Glenn Conklin. Good evening, Glenn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First item I have is I seek your approval on our listed bills through December 3rd, 2024, in the amount of $334,016.27.
So moved as presented. Second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, second by Alderwoman Methvin for the approval of the list of bills. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next item is just informational only. Reporting the regular and overtime payroll from November 4th, 2024 through November 17th, 2024, in the amount of $265,478.39. The next three items are action items, and I'm going to turn those over to Glenn.
Okay, thank you. We do have up on the board's agenda approval, an ordinance for approval of the 2024 annual tax levy in the amount of $719,100, as presented in the work session last week. If anybody has any questions regards to that, I am open for questions. Otherwise, I would like to put this up for approval.
Any questions of our finance director?
You got lucky, no questions.
He can handle the questions too.
Okay, a motion would be in order for an approval of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, for the approval of an ordinance abating tax hereto levied for the year 2024 to be paid to the approval of an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2025 and ending April 30th, 2026 for the city of Crest Hill, Will County of Illinois. Questions or comments in regards to the motion? Roll call.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries ordinance 2007.
Thank you very much. You're on a roll.
Great, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the 2024 tax abatement for general obligation bonds, refunding bonds, Series 2019A. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I know Alderman Albert asked questions about the revenue, and I sent out a packet to everybody where the revenue is coming from. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, thanks for that, Glenn.
Welcome. It's a good question.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin, to approve an ordinance abating tax hereto levied for the year 2024, paid to the principal and interest of general obligation, refunding bonds, waterworks, and sewer systems, alternate revenue source, Series 2019A of the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
And Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries ordinance 2008.
I'm looking at last year's signature block, and it looks like there's a signature for the mayor on this one. So on the tax abatement ones, because it has to do with the bond, let's have the mayor vote.
Mayor, I'll need your vote.
Yes.
Motion carries again. Thank you.
What was that resolution number, Chris?
2008.
Thank you.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Excuse me.
The next one too, because it's another bond abatement.
Thank you all.
Okay. Next on the agenda is an ordinance for the approval of the 2024 tax abatement for general obligation bonds, refunding bonds, Series 2019B. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's not the same information.
So moved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderman Albert, for approval of an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2024 to pay to the principal of and interest of general obligation bonds, sales tax alternate revenue source, Series 2019B of the city of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mayor Solomon.
Yes.
Motion carries ordinance 2009.
Thank you all very much. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Any questions of our treasurer?
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Unfinished business, we have nothing on the agenda. Anyone? New business? Anyone? Committee liaison reports. We'll begin with Alderman Dyke today, or, no, any
Council comments?
council comments, my fault. City
no.
council
No, you
this
said
time.
liaison first. Committee
Yeah,
liaison.
but there wasn't anything for liaisons, was
just-
there?
I have something on behalf of the events committee. I want to remind everyone that the 2024 annual Christmas lights decorating contest is in full swing. I see residents out there even after it got this cold, but So if you would like to enter your home and all your hard work into the contest, forms for the contest are available on the city's website and in the clerk's office. The last day to submit an entry form is December 9th at 4 p.m. Judging will take place between December 11th and the 14th, so make sure your lights are on during that time. And the winners will be announced at the December 16th, 2024 City Council meeting. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, anybody else? Committee or liaisons? All right, now we'll go to city council comments, positive city council comments. Anything you'd like to share with your constituents? We'll begin with Alderman Dyke this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing at this time.
Alderwoman Methvin,
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Alderman Jefferson,
Nothing at this time.
Alderwoman Gazal.
I have few words, and I just don't know how they're gonna sound or where to start. But this year it's been very, very, very tough. And it seems every time a council member wants to make comments or questions or have an opinion, it seems some other group or others, they get aggravated and they get frustrated. And what happened to people's voice at this point?
What
I
happened to
know,
what?
I'm sorry, I have the floor.
No, I didn't understand your last word.
I said, what happened to the people voice? We all been through hell this year, everybody. Department head, staff, council, mayor, city administrator, everybody, including the residents. Police. We're all trying to make the best decisions for the city. And we have no idea how blessed we are. I'm literally sitting here and shaking all night. I have family members are trapped in their homes in the Middle East. And we sit here and we roll eyes, we make fun of each other, we interrupt each other, we get upset, we get angry because somebody has questions or somebody wants more details before they vote. In the end, is our right. It's time to start working together and respect each other. I'm really upset. The lack of disrespect that we're seeing every meeting here. And I'm not an actor. I have staff against me because I didn't show up to a meeting. When I'm here dedicated 5 years, I didn't miss one. I missed because of COVID. And I'm tired. That's it, Mayor.
Alderperson Oberlin,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Spitty,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Albert,
Nothing, Mayor.
Alderman Kubal.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, public comment. Anyone from the audience like to address city council, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Your address is optional. Let the record show that no one has approached the podium. To our city attorney, Mike, is there a need for an executive session?
There is not.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion for an adjournment by Alderman Dyke. Who's the second tonight?
Darrell got that one. He beat me to it.
Alderman Jefferson. Roll call.
Nate Albert? Nate Albert?
Yes.
Joe Kubal? Yes. Scott Dyke?
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin?
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson?
Yes.
Claudia Gazal?
Yes.
Tina Oberlin?
Yes.
Mark Sepiti?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 8:05 PM. Thank you and good evening.
My big moment.
Julius, welcome.